So I was here to talk about a project, specifically a project in Long Beach, California, where we were one of only 21 communities to receive a special grant around the issue of city design, using art and design for a city. In our case, we designed a competition, national competition, for architects and artists to partner to design a portable performance space for the city of Long Beach. And in the end, we had 45 submissions from all over the United States. And we chose a project by an architect group out of Los Angeles, Formation Association and 64 North, who partnered with an artist by the name of Steve Roden, who's a painter and sound artist. And in the end, they designed this amazing project, which, think of a large black cube, 15 by 15 by 15, that could be dropped into an empty lot or a city park or in a street festival. And even as it arrives at the location, it's mysterious. In fact, Steve Roden designed a sound piece that as people walked up to say, "What is this black cube?" sound and music would start to come out and sensing the people around it. And then in the first day, a weather balloon would come up out of the top of the cube, again, sort of like an exclamation point, saying, "This is something special, it's going to happen." And then on the day of the performance, all the sides would drop down, and what would be created is a high-quality performance space. And in addition to this stage for performance, dance, theater, music could be performed on this space, a large canopy, which also was filled with helium, like a cloud, would be tethered above the cube in the space, such that it could be hold a lighting grid, and so that lighting, sound, light projection would all come together around this performance space, which we called the Mobile Art and Architecture Project. California has a long way to go as a state agency or as a state to improve its investment in the arts. Currently, on a per capita basis, we're near the bottom in terms of what we invest in the arts. So I shared with the group today a little bit about that and explained how everybody could help in a little bit by buying an arts license plate, because 60% of our funding comes from the sale of the license plate that has the palm trees on the left and the sun on the right. That's the arts license plate. And that generates over $3 million for the arts in California, just that license plate alone. The artists were very involved in either some aesthetic component, or I think really in, being very much part of the design team. You know, one of the challenges for art in public places is that oftentimes architects have ideas for the art they want to see in their building. But the most advanced uses of art in public places is when the artist is there at the earliest stages, so they can influence the architect rather than the other way around. Architects sometimes see the assignment of having art in public places as part of their project as sort of something that gets imported, almost like dropped into the lobby or out in the front of a building. But the most exciting projects are where artists get to play from the earliest moments in the conversation about what the project will be. And so we felt very strongly that rather than send architects out to think about a project absent from artists, that artists should be there from the beginning. And every chance that we saw where there was a deeper integration of the artist, those were the best projects. Well, I think artists are problem solvers by nature. You know, artists are faced, whether it's with a blank canvas or an empty studio, and yet they create magic out of their imagination. And so artists have a role to play in a much broader way in society, and we ought to embrace that. They ought to be involved in community planning. They ought to be involved in healthcare. They ought to be involved in law enforcement. I mean, they ought to be involved in every facet where problem solvers and innovators and creative thinkers can bring their energy to solve problems. And so I think as a society, we should be embracing artists in a much more integrated way. And that's part of why Urban Land Institute, frankly, is an exciting institution, because I think the most progressive developers understand that artists have a role to play much earlier in the conversation. And if they do, the project will be that much better.